Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here doing a yay or nay video for the Nintendo Switch. I'm just gonna say this off the bat, it's a huge yay. Like I don't understand how anyone could see this new console and be like, whatever. Like how I don't understand that at all. Because and this is the one fear I honestly have is that they promise this, and this, and then it comes out, which we in the gaming world that is like the number one thing we deal with, where it's like, look at all these promises, and then it's like, oh, that doesn't look as good as it looked in the trailer. This section that was super awesome doesn't even exist anymore because the game's gone through so many iterations, or this and that. And we've recently dealt with it, of course, for No Man's Sky has been the biggest thing lately as far as promises and then not holding up to that stuff. But this looked amazing. It was just like, all right, starting off, not only do we get a new console in this, but we get three, well technically I think two new games. So we get the new Mario thing, or actually yeah, we get probably three. So we get this random new Mario game, we get a new Mario Kart game. It could be an update, but I'm pretty sure it's a brand new game based on some of the stuff in there. And this is my favorite one, a new Splatoon. I doubt that that's just going to be a cool update, but I love Splatoon. Splatoon is the junk for me. So when this thing comes out, I doubt this will be the case, but clearly they're working on this stuff right now. If those happen to be launch titles and it was like Splatoon 2 for the Nintendo Switch, I might have to buy that junk instantaneously. I don't know if I'd be able to wait if they brought out another Splatoon. And they didn't show too much new for any of the games. It was like, okay, we have like the Western Town for the Mario thing. It was just a racetrack. We got to see like the items look a little different for the Mario Kart thing. King Boo is in there, who is not in Mario Kart 8, and then for the Splatoon thing, they show an older level, or at least it looked like an older level. It could be like an updated version for the second game. It's technically the same location, so the middle's the same, but the other parts are different. But it was mostly the hairstyles of the characters were very those were all brand new hairstyles, except for like maybe one girl. She had like the normal long hairstyle, but they had like a little buns going up in the air, and they had like little hair flips and stuff like that. I was like, that's really cool. Some the weapons look different, same style of weapons, but they aesthetically look different. So it's like, I hope that that's a new thing, because I love Splatoon. Like I said, Mario I'm fine with. I don't really buy the Mario games like that, but it looked good, so that I'm fine with that. And of course, Legend of Zelda we already knew was coming out anyway, so and that wasn't like a big shock that they that was like the first one they showed off. Like, hey, this will be on here. I believe it is coming out still on the Wii U as well, so for people that don't have the money to get the Switch, they'll be able to have Breath of the Wild on Wii U as well. But I thought it looked great. It starts off simple. Some of these, they're just playing it nice and simple, and then they start taking stuff apart, and it's like, okay, this is kind of cool. So you can take the little slots off the side, you put that down or whatever, and then you just, boom, you pick up a little screen that's inside the console, and it transfers from your TV to the screen. And I love that. It's very simple. They call it the Switch because you got like a bunch of different options. You can switch and do it this way, that way, however you want to play it. And that was really cool. It was really great. Of course, HD graphics and stuff like that, which was obvious. We had that for the Wii U, but it's going to be even better now. So I'm excited to see what they do with it for sure, because we have, both sides of the controller can be two separate controllers. We have an actual Pro controller is used, so that was pretty cool as well. Then we have, along with this screen, it has its own little kickstand, so you can actually, stand it up on its own and just play. You can either use, I would assume that you can't put the two sides of the controller together, and plus that would be like this, so that would probably feel a little awkward, so they probably don't have it. But maybe you could. I mean, they seem to slide to the center, so it seems like I would assume that the two controller pieces have curves in them to connect to the actual screen, so they probably couldn't connect to each other. But I love the way it looked. It was very simple, little kickstand. You get your two controllers in each hand, kind of sticking with somewhat the Wii style of things, because of course for people who play on the Wii U, you probably still use nunchuck for something, especially if you play like Smash Brothers or something. So of course people were still used to that feeling, so it's like, alright, it's not that we wanted the nunchuck anymore. They call them like Joy-Cons, I believe, in the name, which is actually kind of a cool name to me. So it's kind of cool, you still have that style of, it's similar to the Wii because you still have two controllers in each hand, and I'm sure they'll still do motion controls. I would assume it definitely seemed like just normal controls, and there's no touch screen shown. They don't show whether or not you can actually interact with this screen or anything like that. So that's one of the big questions. Like, all right, is it going to be touch screen? Is it only on the screen or only on this gamepad? Like, can you take the gamepad out and still have it on the screen and utilize the gamepad as a touch screen, just like the actual gamepad for the Wii U currently? Or is it one or the other? Like, are they getting rid of the touch screen elements? And it's like, if it's on screen, it's on screen. If it's on the, you take the little pad with you, then, you can implement some things, but you don't get to do both. The wireless connectivity thing, that's interesting. That was probably my favorite part about it. Like, when they have the part, probably my least favorite game because it was sports, and I don't play sports, but when they did the basketball thing, and it's like, all right, we got two screens set up, and then each person takes one side of the control, which that in itself is also amazing. It's like, it just doesn't seem like it would work. But then you see it, it's like, nope, you turn it sideways and each has, an analog. They have, I think they changed the lettering. It's like, or no, they still have the same letters, like the A, B, X, Y on one side. And then the other controller has an analog, and then it's just the D-pad. So, like, they're still in the exact same pattern. So it's like, that's actually very cool. And then I believe there are shoulder buttons even at the bottom. So when you switch it to, like, two players, you still have shoulder buttons for each person. Like, controllers look so tiny though, so I'm curious. Like, it looked fine in the actual commercial, but it's like, just thinking about that. That's honestly, I think they're about the size of my remote for turning on my camera. So it's like, I mean, all you need is an outlet. Yeah, I guess that works. I mean, it seems so tiny. It's weird. It makes me think of like the Game Boy Mini, where it's like super tiny, but it works. That's all you need. Just a little analog here, and then some buttons there. Actually, I can flip it because I actually have a little D-pad here. So I got my thumb here on the D-pad, and then boom, analog. So I guess it does work. Like, it seems really tiny, but admittedly, once you're playing it, it's like, oh, I'm not thinking about what I'm holding. It's just, am I winning or am I losing? So I guess it works. I mean, I guess if this is an accurate size, and I think it's about this size, they might be a little bit bigger actually than this. So this alone is actually a fairly decent size. So testing it with this, I guess that would work for sure. But it was great. It was like, man, they have wireless connectivity with the screen itself, so you can connect to other ones. There is a scene, so they say that, like, the whole big thing is that you have it on your TV, slide the Joy-Cons down, pick up the pad, and then it transfers right to that, and it's like you keep going exactly where you were. So based on what I saw, I think it was during, like, the airport scene or something like that, it looked like a guy had a DS cartridge. So it seems like they might be going back to that, or it's going to be both, because the console is fairly big, so it does look like it still holds CDs. So maybe that's how they do it, where instead of us having to get two versions like we do now, if you have, like, Smash Brothers for 3DS, then you get Smash Brothers for Wii U, they're technically two different games. They have different levels. The modes play slightly different. So same game, different experience. And now they're getting rid of that, where it's like, no, you have the game, you have it for both. You have it at home on your TV and everything, and then if you want to just pick this bad boy up and take it, on a plane or whatever, you can do that and still enjoy it. So what I'm guessing is the console itself still takes, CD and stuff like that, so that way it can still hold, bigger games, because it's not like these ginormous games like Skyrim, which was shown off. It's not like a game like Skyrim put on a tiny, 3DS style cartridge. So not 100% sure. Or DS, I don't know if the 3DS still does cartridge. I'm assuming it does. It has to. I don't know if they're the same as the DS ones though, but it looked like the little, cube for the DS style games. So I don't know if that's going to be the case. Every time we buy a game, it's like you get the CD and you get the 3DS style version, because that allows you to actually just keep it inside of the pad itself for the screen. So that way it's like, alright, it's on there, and then as the pad is actually within the system, it's basically holding all the data at the same time. So it's like, alright, you have the system holding the data, save files and all that stuff, and then you have the small cartridge version that's running pretty much at the same time. It's like, okay, they just saved here, they just saved there, or this is exactly where they are, and you don't even have to pause it based on what we saw in that trailer. It was just, it was on the TV, and then it was right on the pad, and people were just getting up and going. So it looks amazing, and I'm hoping that everything we saw is exactly how it's going to play out. It might not be that way from the very beginning, but I would love it if that's the case. I mean, this comes out in March, which is the big thing about it, because it's like, oh, the NX and this and that. I like the name NX, but honestly, this is one of those situations where I hate the Switch. It's sometimes, like, I've had this happen a couple of times where someone will be like, this is, like with the Wii, that was going to be the Revolution. That's a much cooler name than the Wii. So this is actually one of those situations where I'm like, I actually like Nintendo Switch. It's it's still kind of a weird name like the Wii and stuff, but it's still very cool. I still like that name. I think I like that better than NX, because it's like, what did that even stand for? So I think this is actually one of the rare situations where I like the actual name compared to the fake name, or the original concept name. But it looks really good. I love the idea of, you can have this one controller. It's basically the gamepad, but it's, so you can separate it. So we have our screen for the actual gamepad, and then we have both sides of the controller. But now the sides become separated controllers, and you just flip them, and then you got 2 players. So you get one thing, you automatically have 2 players. The interesting thing is how it's going to play out as far as connectivity when you do, because they have it where it was wireless, where it's like, okay, so you have it wirelessly with the 2 different pads where the 4 people were playing NBA. So it's like, alright, they have that. So are we going to be able to connect more than one pad to an actual console? Like, if it ends up being touchscreen, are we going to be able to do that? Because that's something we don't have for the Wii U. They never really did that, where it's like, oh, okay, I have my gamepad that I bought, with my console, and then a friend comes over and they like using the gamepad too, but you can't do that. You can only connect one gamepad to a Wii U at a time. So it seems like they're taking that to the next step, where you can actually have multiple gamepads. The gamepads actually connect to each other, so maybe they don't have to connect to the system. It's just like, oh, this gamepad is now a part of this game. It's wirelessly connected to the pad, which wirelessly connects to the rest of the main console, or it just connects to the main console, and it's like, hey, you're using your pad, you brought your game over, it has your save information. I don't know if that'll be a thing as well, which I think would be awesome, where it's like, every time you go over to a friend's house, if you take your gamepad, you have all your save game information. Like if you have like a fighting game, you have like your custom character, and then they have their own custom characters, but obviously you guys play different houses and stuff. Excuse me. Would it basically be online all the time? Or would that not even be a factor? Because that would be really cool. I don't think they'll do that where it's like, it blends, the save data together. That's like some crazy stuff. That'd be really great though. And then it separates the data. That would be way too much technology, I think. I don't know. We might have that. I don't know what Nintendo's got there. Nintendo, they got a good $1 jillion. But I love what I saw. I'm excited to get some more information on it, how certain aspects play out. If this thing is going to be a touchpad or not, because of course we didn't see that element at all. It was just people just playing the games. But considering what they do, I don't think it'll be just a screen. I feel like it'll have to be a touchpad, because they don't seem to be, typically based on what they've done starting with the Wii, they kind of keep everything and they just build upon it. So I think, we had the Wii, then we have the Wii U, brings out the gamepad, and that has touchscreen, which kind of brought in elements of the DS and stuff like that. And now we have the Switch, which continues the idea of the Wii still, with the 2 controllers. If you want to separate them, you don't want them on the Switch pad where it's blank in the middle. You just want to play it like a normal controller, you can do that. And then you can separate it, and you have kind of old Wii style, where it's still almost like a Wii, Wii controller and the nunchuck, and one in each hand. And then we still have the screen, which, like I said, I would assume they aren't going to go backwards and be like, yeah, it's no longer touchscreen. I feel like that would be detrimental to really what they built upon with the Wii U and stuff, having this amazing experience where it's like, hey, you have this gamepad, and you can kind of walk away from the Wii U and still play your games. But now, and that is definitely one of the things they built upon, where it's like, now you can just get up and go. Like, it's it's not connected to the thing. It is the console now, or at least half the console. So I don't know how that's gonna play out. Um, it'll be interesting to see because there's just a lot of elements to it where it's like how much, if it's still disc based, how does all of that transfer 100% to the pad? Like, is everything downloaded straight to the pad? Is it, every time you insert a disc, all of that is inserted into the pad itself. So it's like, this is downloaded onto the pad right now, but then once you switch games, that game is now downloaded onto the pad, and that's how you can transfer it and keep playing, wherever you are. Or is there some stuff with the cloud, which I assume there has to be, and some aspect of what they have with this thing where you can just take it straight off your console and the game just goes 100%. Some of that has to be cloud based, where it's like, alright, this data transfers to this wirelessly, or I don't know if they're going to go like super hardcore with it, where it's like, you start getting like, phone type stuff where it's like you got 3G and all that inside of your Nintendo Switch. But we'll have to see how all this stuff plays out. I'm very excited for it. At this point, the one thing I'm curious about is how it truly transfers. Like, how do you go from Breath of the Wild, from a disc, to Breath of the Wild, and what appeared to be, like I said in that one scene, just a cartridge version of that, or is, because it didn't look like the disc went into the actual screen portion, which would make a lot of sense if that were the case. And even then, it's like, there are components to that where it's like it still has to be a screen. It didn't look that big to where it could hold a CD and hold all the elements of making a screen. But at the same time, we have really, really thin TVs now, and they're doing it on a much smaller scale. So I don't know. Like, it's hard to say what is or is not possible for them, especially with all their money, backing them up. So I'm incredibly excited for this. The only problem is I know I'm not going to be able to afford it. I assume that this will come out, I would think, around the $400 range. I think would actually be a logical location for this. It wouldn't surprise me if it was $500. I don't think anyone's going to go that far with it anymore. I think everyone knows at this point, at least until things get like really crazy and we start really going through like inflation, for quite a while, I don't think we should be expecting anything to be past, at least past 500. I feel like maybe the Scorpio for, with Microsoft, I feel like that might be 500 with them talking about, the teraflops and this and that. That might come out as $500 for what they're talking about. But I think this could come out as 400, and I think that might actually be a reasonable price for what they have. And it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say what's more expensive. Is it this, where you just have a screen sitting in the console, or is it more expensive to make game pads? Because you couldn't even buy game pads if yours broke. You'd have to go to like eBay to buy a game pad. So it makes me wonder, like, is this actually easier for them, or would it be more difficult? But considering they're making it per console and it just goes into the console, I would feel like this might actually come out possibly around the same price as the Wii U did when it originally came out. So there's a lot to look forward to. I can't wait to see what games are officially announced. We know we have this new Sonic title coming out, which is now instead of being on the NX, it's going to be on the Switch. So that should be cool. We have the footage that they showed, basketball game I don't care about, but we got to see they're going to have Skyrim on it. They're going to have this new Mario game, new Mario Kart, new Splatoon, which is my favorite thing, like I said. But all in all, it looks amazing. I actually like the design of the console. It's very simple. It's of course a little odd because it's almost like they put together the console and the charger. Like if you had the gamepad and you just had the charger for it that comes with the console, if that was just like hooked onto the console, that's kind of what it would look like to me. But it still works. I thought it was interesting. So I'm excited. I'm going to go through the trailer again and kind of look at it, because it didn't really look too much at the console as far as if it could take CDs, but it looked like it could. It looked like, they had the little slot for the screen, but the back of it looked like it was still the size of like the Wii and the Wii U. It seemed like it was still sort of the same size, and that was another thing I liked. It was still really small because it was, I don't think the actual console was any bigger than the screen itself, so it still was like the same sort of width, or I guess that would be length, depending on which direction you're looking at it. But if you're looking at it from the side, it's like the same width, same sort of style and same dimensions, except it just adds the actual charger for the little screen to the side of the console itself, which of course would have to make it bigger. But based on what I saw, I'm incredibly excited for it. Of course, definitely want to know what you guys thought about this first video for it. What information do you guys really want to see? What games do you want to see, put on this new console? Are you guys excited for what little glimpses they showed us? What do you guys think we're going to see? Do you think any of those games will be launch titles? The Mario thing, possibly. Maybe Mario Kart, I think, would be the most likely. And possibly, I don't know, I'm sure that was probably one of the older games that's already out for the NBA thing, like Skyrim was. But as far as launch titles, Mario Kart seems like it would be the most likely, because I feel like that's a lot easier to make. I don't make games, but I would just assume the racing game would be a lot easier than the actual, whatever they're going to call it. Like if they're going to, like, I don't know, Mario 3D Worlds 2? I don't really, it's hard to say. So we'll have to see how it all plays out, but I'm super excited for it. Like I said, definitely want to know what you guys thought about the announcement, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about this console, your least favorite parts about this console, how much you guys think it'll cost, all your theories, all your expectations, hopes, dreams, everything on the Nintendo Switch. So definitely want to know what you guys think. And of course, thanks for watching.